Hi, I'm Lou, another episode of My Car Story. I'm here with Mike Nowak. Mike, how are you?
Good.
Good. Thank you, Joey. And Mike, let me first get Mike's shirt so you kind of have an idea of where we're going. And the hat. Okay, and Mike, what did you bring here today? Come with me.
I brought my 1965 Mustang GT 350.
And this is the first year of the Mustang GT, correct?
Correct.
This is the beginning. So let's hone in on some of the badging. And Mike, how long have you had the car?
It'll be 27 years and 2 weeks.
So this is a member of the family.
Yes.
And you have great detail on this car. Tell me a little bit about this car. We're gonna step back and take a look at the side of the car. I want to get the whole side in. First of all, you can see there's some exhaust down there, right in front of the back wheel. That was the way it came in '65, correct?
Correct.
How many of these were made in '65?
They made 562, and my car is number 550.
And you've got the stock Kragers, which was...
Yeah, the car originally came with 65 Fairlane station wagon rims.
Okay.
Painted argent with chrome lug nuts, but then Krager made wheels for Shelby with special offset to clear the wheel wells because Shelby owned a Goodyear tire distributorship.
Okay.
And the cars came with 15-inch tires back then. No Mustang back then came with 15-inch.
And I see discs on there, so that obviously was something different too, because I'm sure they were all drums back then.
No, that's standard.
For the Shelby.
On the Shelby.
Right, but I'm saying the regular Mustang would have had
drum brakes.
Yeah.
And you could get an option. The GT came with disc brakes.
I love the venting. I'm featuring that. And let's get a look. Now, was this the first fastback? I mean, for the Mustang?
Well, 64 and a half,
Okay.
but yes.
And let's take a look at the back of this. Now, you've got 1C MFG, California.
That's a reproduction of the manufacturer plate from Shelby American.
This looks just great. And it's got a great stance. Let me feature your cap there. And wonderful little GT 350 badging, all the little details that make the difference, right? Speaking of those details, I just want to feature, there's Carroll himself signing that. People can kind of detail that if they'd like to. And here's some of the details that Mike is sharing with us, so our viewers can take a look at any of this and pause accordingly. And this is the original build sheet? Invoice. How did you find this?
Carroll Shelby kept all the paperwork on all the Shelbys.
Wow.
So they know the Shelby Club is called SAC.
Yeah.
And they have all the VIN numbers of the Mustangs that got turned into Shelbys.
Really?
And then also...
Go ahead, you're saying, come with me. Oh, wait. All right, let's go back. I must have missed something. Go ahead.
This is what Shelby charged the dealer when they did the car, when Shelby modified it.
Yeah.
And then this is the day that the dealership ordered the car from Shelby.
Okay. Hey, give me a second. Go back that far. All right, got it.
And then this is the day they took delivery of the car at Galpin Motors.
Okay.
And then Shelby had his own tractor trailer trucks that delivered cars. Here's a handwritten note of the cars, and there's my car right there.
Oh, wow. Look at that. How cool is that? You know what? Usually I don't shoot the trunks. Let's shoot the trunk of your car, can we? Because you've got... Now, it's all clean in here. Now tell me why we don't have a tire there. The tire's actually there. So tell me about this.
When Carroll Shelby built these cars, he built them to run in B production. And in B production back then, they ran against E-type Jaguars and Corvettes, so the car had to be a two-seater. So Shelby, on the 65 Shelbys, they eliminated the back seat and put a fiberglass tray and mounted the spare tire. And then then they used a bungee cord and to hold the jack and the jack handles there.
For racing.
Correct.
Cool. Let's shut that. And we're going to take a look in the interior. Thanks, Mike. It's really like going through a history lesson with you, quite honestly. I am absolutely going to make sure it doesn't hit that car. Joey, can you come here for a minute? Or go ahead. You want to hold that? I know you will make sure that doesn't happen. Here's the interior here. These are the original seat belts. And you could see the back seat that they set this up for racing.
Correct.
And the headliner, all real clean. The factory tag and gauges. This is just a really neat piece of automotive history.
And then the steering wheel, those are out of the AC Cobras.
Yeah.
And so that's a real wood steering wheel. And they couldn't fit the horn in there. And right by the radio knob there is a toggle switch.
Yes.
It's spring loaded. That's your horn from the factory.
Is that right? Well, Mike, you know I've been waiting to shoot your car, and it's even more impressive getting the chance to shoot it as I'm chatting with you than it is just to visually look at it, which is outstanding by itself. So, now what's this handle on the end of this stick here?
That's for reverse.
Okay, all right. So it's reverse, and you can see Mike has all of the pieces for his car. All right, let's, is there any imprints on the side door? No, we're good.
Shelby
All
took them off.
Got it. Let's take a look under the hood. We've got the side vent window. And here's some of the production before we pop that hood of what it looked like. What is this tag, Mike?
That was a thing that Shelby made just to put on there. It was like a gimmick.
Okay.
This
Go ahead. This one?
This is how the cars
Point it out. Go
were.
ahead.
These cars, this is how they were shipped. They built these cars at LAX Airport. They were shipped from Ford to Shelby without hoods and back seats in them.
Wow.
And then in another picture over
I'm
here,
going to take a shot on the other side then.
maybe if I pull it out of the car.
Yeah, well, you know what? I think I can actually get it perfect through here.
And this is inside the hangar, and they're doing the modifications. They put on a 7.5 quart aluminum oil pan, and then they put on aluminum Cobra valve covers. And then over here you have your tri-Y headers with the glass packs and the exhaust pipes that exit in front. And then they took off the standard Ford cast iron intake with the 4-barrel, and Shelby put on a special Cobra high rise with a Holley 715 CFM carburetor.
So aluminum.
Aluminum.
Yeah.
And then they got a pile of sway bars there. Shelby put on a 1-inch sway bar. And then up here, they lowered the upper A-arm bolts 1 inch.
Yes.
And then they used a different idler arm and pitman arm for the steering geometry. And then they put Coney shocks on the car.
It's a completely remodified Mustang.
Correct. In the background here, they're installing the override traction bars. They removed this fiberglass panel.
Hold on.
They removed this fiberglass panel.
Okay.
And then they welded a bracket to the top of the differential. Then they cut a hole through the trunk floor, and then they welded a bracket in back there, and then they attached a bar from there to the top of the differential, and that would eliminate wheel hop.
Wow. You are a historian on this car.
And they used a 9-inch Ford rear end, and it came with a 389 ring and pinion with a Detroit locker rear end. And then they in the frame they put an eye bolt, and then they took a steel cable and ran that through the eye bolt and around the axle housing. So if the car was on a road course, and if the car went up in the air and the tires were off the ground, the rear end wouldn't drop below. Otherwise, it would have broke the override traction bars off.
Cool. Let's take a look on her. Keep talking.
And then Shelby put a drive shaft loop on it, and then they used a aluminum cased Borg Warner T10 transmission, which they used in the Cobras, and it's a close ratio. It's a 236 first gear.
So this is just one performance Mustang for the track, period.
And then Shelby added this Monte Carlo bar and this export brace. And the reason why it looks crummy back there,
yeah,
the cars that were shipped out of the country, the roads were rougher, and it was breaking through back there. So Shelby cut that out, welded in a piece of angle iron, and then covered it with seam filler.
Wow.
And that's why it looks like that. And then they all came with without hoods, but Shelby put fiberglass hoods on them.
You can see the fiberglass in there.
But since mine's a later car, they had problems with the early cars with the spring was bowing the hoods. So then they did a recall and they put lighter springs on the cars.
Okay.
It was still bowing the hood. So then they put the metal reinforcement with the fiberglass over it, and then they used a prop rod.
Got it. Wow. That was great.
In the first 200 and some cars, the batteries were in the trunk, but people complained about gas fumes and that, and then they moved the battery back up front.
Battery came back up front. And that battery looks exactly as it was. Let me just feature that. For Moco.
And that's your windshield washer solvent.
Well, this is great. Let me get both sides of the engine compartment. Then we're going to have you stand next to your car as we usually do. And the sun's hitting it just right today, so we're not only getting the treat of learning all about it, which I just got a huge education, Mike. Thank you so much. And it was really kind of fun. Small radiator.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just get that from the overall perspective there. All right, let's shut the hood and let's have you stand right next to it. Joe, come this way, son. Mike, stand right next to it there. Thanks for being on My Car Story.
Thank you for doing my car. It was my pleasure.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.